We are talking about marathon training programs, how you want to look at your marathon training programs, how you want to select the kind of training programs you want to do. And I'm going to talk through a couple of different ways I'm considering going about my next marathon training program. So, I'm going to talk through the different kinds of plans so you can have, we're going straight into this. We can have plans that are made by a coach, someone real. You can have plans that are pre-made by a real coach like Hal Higdon. So I've got a big spreadsheet I'm going to show you guys on the different coaches that I have programs from. So I've got Higdon and Fitzinger and Daniels, and they all have different kinds of programs that you can select and say which one of these is going to work best for me. And then you can have ones that are kind of in between, so semi-customized to you, and there are different ways you can do that. So we're going to get into each one of these. And it's always going to be dependent on you. And there's a couple of baseline truths that are going to make all of this hopefully easier to understand and think about. One is running more is your best friend if you want to run faster. If you want to get more, if you want to make your race times faster, mileage is the way to do it. And there's a caveat: healthy, consistent mileage is going to help you do that. When you have a coach who is knowledgeable and you are talking to on a regular basis, that's usually going to be your best bet, especially if you have people with you that you can train with on a regular basis because you show up better, you stick to your plan better, you usually don't back down as much, you don't have that internal dialogue as much. At least I know if I'm running with someone else and I say, I'm going to do this workout this way, my likelihood of doing that is much higher with somebody than by myself. So let's go into this. We have different kinds of plans. We've got pre-made ones. So I'm actually going to hop into a smaller window here, throw this off to the side, and we're going to take a look at this. This is, let's blow this up a little more. Ooh, one more up. Perfect. This is Hal Higdon's training marathon intermediate 2, and I've got this huge group of them. So from your Hal Higdon half marathon novice plan through his advanced marathoning, we've got Daniels down here somewhere, we've got Fitzinger. So tons of training programs. Let's pop back to marathon intermediate. And I realized I'm in the way here. So let's zoom out just a little bit. There you go. You can see all 18 weeks here. So these are going to be pre-made plans that tell you what to do every day of the week. There's no real personalization. Except for that, you can choose the kind of program that you think is going to work well for you. So you've got your marathon intermediate 2. That means you are maybe kind of adept with running. Like, you've got a pretty good base. You're comfortable running like 5 miles already. You can do a 10-mile long run on week 1. And not everybody can do that, which is okay. So that's when we've got easier, more like completion style marathon novice. So here you've got a 6-mile run. If you're planning on running a marathon and you're 18 weeks out from that marathon, you should be able to run 6 miles like pretty comfortably. Or each one of these guys has earlier options. So if you're not comfortable with that, you can go to like an advanced half marathon program. So what I'm saying here is you've got a lot of different options in terms of pre-made plans that you just have to be honest with yourself and look at early on and say, like, can I run for 30 minutes? Yeah, great. Or 30-minute cross training here, 3-mile run, 4-mile run. These are plans where if you say, like, I will follow this plan to a T, and you're recovering well between, and you're progressing along with the plan as it's written. So like in a marathon plan, are you doing your 2-hour long run at week 12? If you are following that plan to a T, you're going to get more fit, you're going to get better at running, all of these good things that come along with running more, running consistently, and staying healthy while you're doing it. So like exactly what I said at the beginning of the stream. So you've got things like this. You can choose any coach you like, and they've all got books. So like Higdon's got his book, Fitzinger's got this, Daniels is hanging out over here, and all these books are going to have like how they want you to approach training. They're going to tell you how to read their programs, and then you can integrate it to your watch. And we're going to talk about like price and integration to your technology throughout your normal day and stuff like that. So those are all going to be ways we're looking at these. So I'm going to go through price, customization, encouragement, support, dynamic with life, integration, and accountability. So like the book's not going to hold you accountable, but we have other ways of doing this. So we can look at like my Koros. This is, I just went through and for fun made a pre-made or customized to me training program based on my current fitness, my current mileage per week, and my goal. So I think I threw in a 3-hour marathon here, and this is the first week of how they're looking at training. So 46 miles per week for some folks is going to be a lot. That would not be their training program. 46 miles in a week for other people, they're like, well, that's not enough for me. But for me, that's like a really good amount of miles. That's where I want to be. And then I want to progress from there. So if I were to do a 3-hour marathon training block, that makes a lot of sense for me. And like I know I can do 10K, which is 6 miles pretty easily. I can do 12K, which is going to be 8.5 miles with some strides in there pretty easily. And a 12.5 mile long run for me is not terribly hard. That's something I know I can do. And then we just progress. So we keep working up. So this is a 15-mile long run. And then scrolling down more, we've got, I'm sure it gets longer, 30K long runs. So now we've got 18.5 miles. So it progresses over time. That's one way you can do some customization without it getting terribly expensive. That's just built into Koros. So that's actually really good. There are other apps like Runna or Coupa. I'm not actually a big fan of Runna. From everything I've heard from everybody I've talked to, Runna, I'll pop over here for this little bit. Runna seems to be just more aggressive than I would want it to be. Runna, maybe it's fine. I don't know. I don't like that Strava bought them either. Like that all feels kind of icky because Strava puts everything behind paywalls for their premium and like, not really it for me. Now, Coupa, I didn't know anything. My wife wanted to start training for her half marathon PR and a PR attempt and then a full marathon at the end of the year and was like, can I just do Runna? I was like, you can do whatever you want. You're an adult, but like, can we find something else? So I was looking around and Coupa seems pretty good. So I'm going to pop back over to this window. It is very similar to Runna, actually. So they have a lot of integration to your training. So like she can send her workouts straight to her Koros watch. And then it asks like, where are you starting? How much speed work do you want? It's built around how you are doing your running. And then this human coach support is so cool. I don't think Runna has this where you can talk to a real coach, but like Ashley could chat to a real person and say like, this was weird. Or like on the treadmill, the one thing she's doing, like on the treadmill, it feels way harder for her than running out doing speed work in the real world. So this adapts over time. Let's see. Consistent weeks, not setbacks. Yeah, that's a big one. So it's looking at, man, I want to see your overview. I don't know. It's fine. It looks at like where she's starting. It sees how she's doing on the runs and adjusts based on that. You can go through and talk to, and AI's plus minus, like, I wish it wasn't bad for the environment, but it seems like people are just going to keep using it. Anywho, she can talk to an AI bot, which I don't know if she's done any of that yet, but there's support in that way. And then price-wise, it's not terribly expensive for a year of training. It's less than most people are going to charge for 1 month of personalized coaching. And most coaches don't do 1 month of personalized coaching because you need longer than a month because you need to run consistently and stay healthy. So the coaches normally look for longer periods of time. And then you have like legitimate full-time coaches. Um, and I'm blanking on the name of this lady, but there was one that Ashley was looking at, and her stuff looked really, really good. I loved her training philosophy, and it's very customizable, and you can talk to her on a regular basis. But it's like $300 a month, and that's a lot for a lot of people. Like many people out there have the ability to do that, and that is awesome for them. I would say more people probably can't spend $300 a month on personalized marathon training program. There's a guy I want to work with. He is also $300 a month, and it's like I can't justify that with where I'm at right now, especially knowing what I know. Like I know a lot of stuff about this, and having somebody to talk to regularly about it would be awesome. And if you're a coach out there that is taking the time to talk to your athletes on a regular basis, I feel like that can be worthwhile, and you have to make a living as well. It's just not everybody can do that, but it's going to be the most personalized option. So going through these for the price, obviously, I saw the sticker on this earlier, and I actually really like it. So I thought it was kind of funny. I got this book for, where am I? Right here. $4.49. And this is a guy who has dedicated his life to run coaching. If you pick a plan in here and stick to it, and you can be healthy and stay accountable, then great. But customization is only so-so. The customization is not like over the top because it's pre-made. Encouragement and support. If you go through and read the book, it actually is quite encouraging. Um, it's just not that you're not talking to somebody on a regular basis. That's where something like the Coupa can be kind of cool, is you can talk to somebody in real life and have some level of customization. Now, Dynamic for Life is an interesting one because the pre-made plans just are not very customized for life. Life is hard, and while that's okay, it doesn't know that you had a hard week, and maybe we do need to take a down week a week early. It's just pre-made. And if you can have some sense of intuition with like what works for you and how your body feels and responds, awesome. If you stick hard line to what's written, your chance of injury can go up, especially if you're choosing a plan that's too hard. That's why the customization piece is nice, is you can say, hey, I need to take a down week early, and then you can reassess and like write in pencil from there forwards. Now, integration, obviously the plans there won't integrate really well with a watch, which is fine. You can write these workouts in. It's not hard to do. It's just not like there at the snap of a finger. And then accountability, obviously, book's not going to hold you accountable. You have to hold yourself accountable. But for the price, like you are getting an awesome option for very minimal. I think most people can justify $4.50 for a wealth of knowledge in these books. You just have to do a little bit more of that work and hold yourself accountable. Again, yourself. Now, if we go to the semi-custom option, there are a couple of ways you can look at it. Sometimes coaches will even write you a semi-customized plan for yourself after talking to you, seeing where you're at. They'll write your plan, but then you don't get any ongoing support, which is fine, especially if you know, like, and trust that coach. If you know them and think they have the best intentions for you, maybe there is a higher level of buy-in than seeing a pre-made plan from Khoros. Now, Khoros plans are free and integrated directly into the watch, which I like a lot. I've not done the Coupa training myself, but from what I've seen, it looks like it's really good training. It has the speed work and workouts, it has easy miles, and it has the encouragement aspect. So let's go through Khoros. The price, obviously just the price of the watch, and you can get a good watch for less than $200. The Pace 3 is on sale because it's one model year old. Cool, that's fine. For $199, that's a great deal. Or you can get the brand new top of the line Pace 4 and it's $250. Or you can go to a Garmin like 70 or 170 or 265, and all of those are like The Garmin's are on sale right now. I think the Garmin 265 is like $350. That's as expensive as anybody would need to be on a watch. And then Garmin has training programs as well. So price and customization, price is relatively low given what you're getting. The customization is so-so. They've got pre-made plans like the books. They've got a personalized training program that looks at your goals, but only somewhat takes into account your current fitness and your current mileage and stuff like that. Um, Encouragement and support, there's not any, which is fine. You just see it pop up on your watch. So there's a little more accountability. Like it pops up and says, this is going to be your run for the day. And that's great. Integration, obviously 10 out of 10. It is just straight in there. You have your whole plan written out. You can see what's going to happen in the coming weeks. All of that stuff. Dynamic with life. Not a huge amount, but like you can see your training program. You can alter it before you go run. You'll just, it doesn't change what's going forwards, but you can in the moment change what you're doing and reduce or increase intensity before you start that run. For a pre-made plan, so if I go to a coach and say, hey, I want a 4-month plan for a marathon prep, they can say, this is where we're at, this is where we're going, and write it all out. So price is about in line. It feels more expensive because you don't get the watch with it, but you're going to be looking normally around $100. Customization is higher than you would get on a watch because they talk to you, they see where you're at, and do all of those pieces together. Encouragement and support are going to be really high at the start, especially if you can occasionally get a message in like, hey, running is going great. And then you just have somebody you know you can talk to as a human. Dynamic with life, not so much. Same kind of thing here where the plan is made. Maybe you can say like, hey, can we do another partial session and update the training program if you're like halfway through it and feel like things need to change, and maybe they don't charge you as much. So that could be a good thing, but it depends on the coach if they're even willing to do something like that. Integration with those pre-made for you plans is not super high. You can do the same thing though, where you write it out in the app for your watch. So I can go into Koros and write my workouts for the week. And then accountability, again, not super high there because the coach is making it for you, not seeing you do it every single day. Now, fully custom plan, well, actually, we'll go into Coupa and Runna real quick. So Coupa and Runna, on the price perspective, they're okay. They're not amazing. They're not really bad. So-so. I think Coupa was $120 for the year, which if you break that down per month, that's not bad, especially because you can get some level of personalization with it. I think Runna is about ballpark that same price. Customization is better because it can modify as you go. So it's like you're crushing your workouts, great. We're going to make them just a little more intense. You're having trouble keeping up with the paces that are set for you, maybe we take a step back, which is great. And you have the opportunity to talk to either an AI or a human and say like, hey, this is what's going on. What can we do to change and adjust this? And then you get the benefit of some personalization and customization there. For the encouragement and support, it's a little bit better for sure. Dynamic with life, much better. This is like the big jump that these platforms make, is it is much more dynamic with life even than like the Koros pre-made plans, right? So your everyday consistency is going to be hopefully better because you can make changes with real life and then you can make adjustments to the plan from there forwards. Integration with these, Runna and Coupa, and I'm sure the rest of them all integrate well into the watches. So it's one more step than like a native Koros or a native Garmin plan, but like you can send it straight from your Coupa app to your watch, sync it, and then you're set to go. Accountability, again, so-so. I think that they like send push notifications and like have you check in and be like, ah, yeah, it's going great, or like, hey, maybe you need to make your run happen this week because you missed two or what have you. The final one is going to be your for real, full time talking to coaches. The prices on this are pretty high. Like you're talking usually between $150 and $300 every month. And for a training block for a marathon, that means we start talking towards or above $1,000. And like, ah, geez, oh Pete, that is a lot. Um, Again, some people can do that. I don't think most people can justify it. So price is really high. However, all the other aspects are going to be maxed out. Your customization, if you're talking to a coach and making plans every week, that is fantastic. You are getting up to date information with up to date how you're feeling in your workouts and in your training. Encouragement and support are going to be super high. Your coach is probably texting you, checking in. How'd that run go? How are you doing? How are you feeling? Encouragement and support are great. Dynamic with life, a coach who's like conscious and alive and paying attention to your results can go in and look at like how is John doing with his program. Like he missed a couple of runs, what's going on with that? And then they can check in and be like, oh, John had a huge family event and he's got a bunch going on at work. Maybe we need to reduce the physical stress so his body can keep up with the rest of the stress of life for this week and then get back to it the following week. So you get much more dynamic support there. Integration with a real coach, it depends. Some of them are going to have like Training Peaks, which is a platform that they can write everything out and then send it to you. Then you can put it onto your watch. Or maybe you have to write it yourself once you have your week of training from your coach. And accountability, super high, 10 out of 10. You've got somebody looking out for you and paying attention to you. I guess you have one more step beyond that, which is like in-person coaching. So if you've got a group of like a training group where you've got one coach and then you've got like 10 people that show up and that's how that coach makes a living, that's crazy good because then you've got social accountability and the benefit of being around other people, both from a human perspective, like it's good to just be around other people, and you have the social aspect of running at a higher level because you're surrounded by people. So I am considering how I want to do this. I'm a huge value heavy guy. The Coupa idea seems interesting to me. I've not committed to doing that yet. But it seems like their programs are really good. So it's really intriguing to me. I've thought about doing a Koros plan, either one of their pre-mades that has like a 3-hour target, because like the demands of running are just the demands of running. It doesn't matter if you're super big, super small, really fast maximally, really slow maximally. If you can run workouts that are at your race pace and you can accumulate enough volume there, if you can meet the demands of what is being asked of you to run a 3-hour marathon, it's the same for everybody. Some people might be biased one way or another, like some people might be faster, some people might have more endurance. But by and large, you have to just be able to run 6-hour or 6-minute and 30-second miles if you want to run 250 for a marathon. Like I know that. That's one of the things I want to do. And so if you can run 630 miles for 26.2 miles, you will run a 2-hour and 50-minute marathon. So I don't hate the idea of one of these pre-made plans that integrates really well with the watch. I like the idea of having a human that I can chat to, even if there's a little bit of time delay between getting back with you. So those are like the two I'm considering. I can't justify a coach, especially when I know as much as I do with the exercise science thing. Not to say I know all of it, but I by and large know what I'm looking for out of training. And so being able to adjust plans myself is really interesting. I don't hate the idea of taking one of those training plans from like Fitzinger or Daniels, like whomever, blowing up really big on a like big piece of paper and having it all written out, and then I just slash it. Like I know what my workout is for that day because I've got it written out on a big, like, I don't know, piece of paper, sticky note, whatever you want to call it. And I just go get my run in and I can adjust it as needed. All just different things I'm thinking about, but the price part to me shouldn't be a limiter for getting faster. Like, I don't think that should be a limiter for anybody. If you want to get faster, you can do it, and it should not have to cost a lot of money. So that's my 2 cents. If this was helpful for you, by all means, let me know. If you are, I actually haven't even looked at this metrics at all because it's been covered this entire time. Stream settings, no, analytics. There it is. Okay, so it looks like there are a couple of people in here. If you've got any comments or questions, I'm happy to chat about them. There's nothing that is kind of off limits. I like doing these live streams as an opportunity to give you guys a chance to ask somebody who kind of knows this stuff what my opinion is on training, fueling, watches, gear, whatever you're thinking of, shoes. If you got questions or comments, drop them in here. I'll give it just a little while. I'm more than happy to help out with any of your running stuff. If you got any questions at all, pop them in the chat here. I do see there are a handful of you in here right now. So I would love to help. That's why I do these streams. I just like having something to talk about while I'm waiting for stuff to happen in the chat. So just an opportunity to talk to somebody who wants to give the best advice possible and help you guys out. So let me know. Well, actually, in terms of coaching, this is free. If you drop your stuff in here, we can absolutely chat about any of your training stuff. And I do this every week. So if you are new, if you're one of the new people here that are watching, oh man, we got up to a pretty okay amount of views today. That's great. If you want to see what's going on every week, I talk about something and open up the chat. Actually, the chat usually is more important to me than anything else because it gives me the chance to talk to you guys. I've been rambling here for about a minute, so I'll give it until 9:29 or 28 minutes on the stream because I was off by just a little bit. So whichever one, it's at least another 40 seconds. If you got a question or a comment, drop it in the chat below. I'm happy to chit chat with you guys. Can stay on as long as I really need if you guys have questions. Coming off my 50K, so I'm looking at my training plans right now. Oh, Randolph, it was great to meet you. Got a question about using VO2 max training and how relevant it is for a newbie. I think VO2 max is a little bit more intense than most people want or need to be. Going. It's useful, but VO2 max is not like a leading indicator for marathon pace, for example. VO2 max is much more relevant like in your mile, 2-mile 5K. But VO2 max training is like pretty intense. So it's not something I'm like dramatically over the moon about hitting. I think getting your base miles in is really important. That's going to increase your aerobic capacity, which is much more relevant to me. And I think threshold training is a little bit better than VO2 max. VO2 max is more intense than threshold training is. So only so-so on the VO2 max training side of things. I'm curious what you think of or where you're trying to go with it. Like, what are you wanting to use VO2 max training for? Also, I guess we were chatting about this when you did come visit the store, but what are your like big overarching goals right now? I know you've got it was Colombia, Medellin for the race, I think you said. Is that like your number one A goal right now? And can you remind me how far out that is? Moving some screens around. Yeah, half marathon in Medellin. Yeah, I think threshold training is going to be way better for you. So threshold training, so VO2 max is well above your threshold. Like VO2 max is like really up to 4 minutes. Like that time frame is what you can hold your VO2 max. Maybe a little bit longer if you're really well trained. Threshold training is going to be much more applicable because that's how far you can go for an hour, which is much more relevant to a half marathon. So somebody with a super high VO2 max can't necessarily run a really fast half marathon. Now, many of them can because they are correlated, but you can have somebody who's like an 800-meter person with a really high VO2 max, but their threshold isn't crazy. So proportionately, they're much faster at a mile than they are for um, uh, than they are proportionately to a half marathon. I think spending time at threshold is going to be a better bang for your buck, if you will. Um, you can get more of it in one training session. So I don't want intensity to be like incredibly high, but if you can go get like once, maybe twice a week, a good threshold session where you're doing 5 minutes around your threshold pace, which again is what you can hold for about an hour, or like you just did your 10K, what you think you could hold for a really good 10K, ballpark around that. If you can do like 5 minutes around that pace and then a minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes of easy jogging, and then another 5 minutes and accumulate time. So you have to start easier. I wouldn't start going straight to 20 minutes of threshold, but like if you can do 10 minutes week one, where maybe you split it up in 3 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes until you accumulate a couple of rounds of that. And then the week after, maybe you do 4 minutes, 2 minutes, or yeah, I like 4-2. You could do that and then get to 12 minutes. And then you could do more rounds as you progress. So you could go 3, 4, 5 minutes. And then after the 5 minutes, you could drop down to like 3 minutes, but you can do more rounds of it. So instead of like 3 or 4 rounds of 3 minutes, maybe you're going 6 or 7 minutes, because then you're getting, or 6 or 7 rounds of 3 minutes on, 1 or 2 minutes off. Because then you're getting a longer time at threshold, but it's not super dense. And then you could go to your 4 minutes, and then you could do like 4x4, 5x4, or something like that. Again, getting to 20 minutes, but the density is spread out a little more. So you're not hitting it as close together. You're getting a little more of that rest time between. And then you could do 5 minutes. Like you could start first week 2x5 minutes on, or 3x5 minutes on to get to 15. Last one, you could do 4x5 minutes. And that's going to give you a really good stimulus that's probably going to take a handful of days to recover from. So I would say easy for your long run. And then your workout day, you could do some threshold work. That's where I would steer you, as opposed to like 4x4 minutes all out, like the Norwegian 4x4. That's going to push your VO2 max up, but it's really intense and really hard to recover from. I think threshold is your better bet for getting better recovery between and getting the stimulus that's more appropriate to the half that you're trying to run. Is that helpful? Does that kind of make sense? Also, if there's anybody else in the chat, I see there are more folks. If there's anybody else that has running related questions, I usually bounce between folks and talk about stuff if there's anyone else that has running questions. Awesome, great insights. I hope it helps. There are a lot of people, like I think Daniels does a lot with threshold, if I'm remembering right. Actually, I'll just pull it up here. Oh, that's going to be full marathon stuff. Let's see. So I don't know if this is going to come out well. this book is actually literally falling apart. But like, let's see if I can read this backwards. This particular workout is 3 by 1,000 to 1,600 meters at T, which is going to be your threshold, with 1 minute rest between, and then 4 by 400 meters at race pace with 400-meter jog between, and 1 by 1,600 meter or 1 by a mile at your threshold pace again. So that's a super intense workout, actually. This is his 1,500 to 3,000 meter training plan. So like 1 to 2 mile. That's a super intense workout. But he writes in threshold quite a bit. So maybe look at one of Daniels's easier plans. Let's see, do I have an option in here for that? Half marathon, program A. Yeah, so are these actually in the book? They are. So coming over to here, this is like his half marathon. Wow, this is really hard to do well. People who can do cameras well are impressive. This particular workout is like the 9th week. Is that warm up there? Or fraction of peak mileage. So that's how much of your peak mileage you're going to hit here. And then the warm up is 2 miles easy. And then 5 by 5 to 6 minute threshold with 1 minute rests. Wow. That's a little more aggressive than what I said, but I love that that's what came out of my head. 5-ish minutes, and you get a couple of rounds of it around your threshold. With about a minute, I think it can be a little bit more than 1 minute of rest. I think 1 minute's like relatively aggressive. But yeah, Daniels maybe would be a good plan to look at, and then modify as you need, or like you can always ask me. I've got the book. Yeah, just some ideas. Anything else? Anything fun going on? Did you get to Georgia okay? We've got even more viewers now. If anyone else who has hopped in recently has questions on running training, running programming, we're going through and just talking about different kinds of run training, programming, and like how you can use different programs. So like we were just looking at the Daniels book. If you don't have anything, Randolph, I'll give you like a minute or so. I don't have a whole lot else myself. Just again, trying to figure out how I want to go about doing my marathon training program. It's cool that I've got about 5 months. Actually, it's 5 months: July, August, September, October, November, December. No, exactly 6 months today until marathon day. So that's a really long time for a build. So I'm going to take the first 3 months of it and do just a lot of really good base work without a ton of like specific workouts. Just get a crud ton of miles in the legs, get more aerobic adaptation, hit strides. Strides, I think, are really important. And then the last 3 months, we'll go and start getting some more specific workouts, a little bit longer on the long runs, and all those good things. Marathon is in Kiowa. So it'll be Kiowa Island Marathon. It's December 13th. So I'm really excited for it. It's kind of a redemption from last year. Last year I had a ton of cramping for like from like mile 16 onwards. I was just having a really rough time with it. So I want to go and take like an hour off of that marathon time. I didn't run like anywhere near my fitness So it'll be fun to be like, I took an hour off a marathon in 1 year. All right, I think that'll do it for the day. Randolph, I hope you have a great day. Thank you, everybody else who stopped on. If anybody is left in the chat, I'm going to go get ready for work and then hopefully get some folks into new running shoes and see if we can't help some people out. Maybe think about my own training a little bit. Got to pick up a bib for a 10-mile race that I'm pacing tomorrow. So, hope everybody has a great day. We'll see you in the next one. Do something good for your body. As always, bye.